Hello there. This is the Korg SQ-1, a small, inexpensive, really well-made sequencer that is extremely capable and a whole lot of fun to use. I have used this sequencer in a number of my videos here. In fact, my currently most popular video uses the SQ-1 heavily. I'll link that video below in the description and at the end of this video, just in case you're interested. One question I get asked in the comments of just about every video that I use the SQ-1 in is, how do I connect to MIDI and how do I select the MIDI channels? Well, in this video, we are going to look at exactly that question, as well as a few other functions in the global parameter settings. So in saying that, welcome to an oddly specific short tutorial featuring the Korg SQ-1. So, connecting to MIDI devices and selecting MIDI channels, it really does come up a lot. So yeah, just really quickly, hopefully this can get you out of trouble in an uncomplicated way. It is in the manual. Maybe you don't have the manual, or maybe you just don't want to deal with Korg's famously complicated, giant, fold-out roadmap style directions, which can be very frustrating at times. But yeah, it's a really simple device. There is a, as they call, a global parameters settings setting. To get there, you hold down the stop-start button, power on. Now we are in the global parameters settings mode. To select a MIDI channel, you just want to look at these 16 step buttons here. Each of the 16 buttons represents one of the 16 MIDI channels. So currently, we are on MIDI channel 1, so we'll be outputting on MIDI channel 1 to our MIDI device. Press the second button, we would be outputting to channel 2, 3 to channel 3, and so on. If you're already familiar with the SQ-1, or if you look up here at the mode selector switch, you can see that as well as having a single 16-step sequencer, you can also have two separate 8-step sequencers. So how do you set the MIDI channel for the second sequencer or the B sequencer? Well, that's really simple. Whatever channel A is set to, so right now we are set to channel 1, channel B will just be the next number in line. So if channel A is set to 1, then you can assume that channel B will be MIDI channel 2. If channel A is set to 2, then you can assume that MIDI channel B will be MIDI channel 3. If A is 3, B will be 4, and so on all the way through. And then, when you have decided that you are happy with your MIDI channel selection, simply press the power button again, and the sequencer can be treated as normally. And that is how you set MIDI channels. Of course, connecting to MIDI is extremely simple. It will come with a 3.5mm MIDI adapter. This is the Type A adapter. There are different types. The Korg SQ-1 uses Type A. There is a Type B for reasons. But yeah, Korg will typically use a Type A. Certainly the SQ-1 does. Pops in there, then your standard 5-pin DIN MIDI connects, and you are good to go. So if you have lost your original MIDI adapter, it's a Type A. But that really is all there is to connecting MIDI devices and setting the MIDI channels. But while we're here, let's see what other settings can be changed within the global parameter settings mode. So let's just switch off and let's enter the global parameters setting mode again. So remember, we just hold down the start stop button, power on. So the SQ-1 has an auto power off function. By default, this is set to on. So currently it is on, so this means that this will shut off after a set amount of time, which is handy, especially when you're running off battery power, when it's not being in use. If you want to shut that off, if you don't want any option for this to turn off automatically, just hit the stop start button. It is unlit, so that means the auto power off function is disabled. Press it again so the light turns on. Auto power off function is enabled. The gate output polarity of channel A and B and the sync in out polarity can also be changed. Currently, by default, the mode button is lit. That means we are at positive polarity. Press the mode button and that sets these outputs to negative polarity. Why would you want to do that? Well, there are certain devices, famously like the Korg MS-20 and the MS-20 Mini, that receive negative triggers. I'm sure there are a whole lot of other devices that do, but you often see this sequencer being used with the Korg MS-20 and the MS-20 Mini. Apparently the module version can also accept positive, but if you have the standard MS-20 or the MS-20 Mini, that will be receiving negative triggers. But by default, mode button is lit, which means we are at positive polarity. And then you can see here the sequencer mode switch. If we start turning that in the global parameter settings mode, you can see we're starting to get some action here, so things are being changed. Well, that is to do with the resolution that the sequencer is putting out. This deals with the parts or pulses per quarter note. Different gear you might be connecting to will be expecting to receive a certain resolution. There is no set standard to this. It will all depend on what you are trying to connect to. But again, this has nothing to do with MIDI, so if you've got what you need from the MIDI section, you can get on with life. But turning this will change the resolution. So in the first position here, we are at quarter notes. Second position, eighth notes. Third position, 16th notes. You can actually keep turning this. It doesn't actually mention this in the manual. It seems to stop at 16th notes, but it does go up to like 64ths, I believe. I've never really had any gear that I've needed to go beyond that, but yeah, it does actually change the resolution beyond the 16th notes that it mentions in the manual. And as always, once we have selected our settings and we're happy with them, we just press the power button and it just goes back into your standard sequencer mode, ready to sequence all of your external gear happily and as it should. Well, that's it for this oddly specific and short tutorial featuring the Korg SQ-1. If you do have any questions or even comments, please go ahead below in the comments section. I'm really active in my comments and just really love to help and talk about all this stuff. If you found the video helpful, please hit the thumbs up / like button. And if you haven't already, maybe consider a subscription. It's always really appreciated and it's really helpful. Regardless, I hope you got what you needed and hopefully I'll see you again. Cheers.